Hey, so let's design a character. This could be an original character you've created, or you're working from a book description. Maybe you've got like a low resolution picture or poly model that you're working from an old video game. It's totally possible to do this, and it's lots of fun. I've done it a few times. Cool, so let's get into it. Now, you may not be too happy with the first step, but you do need to have a basic understanding of the head anatomy. So once you've done this once, you'll never need to know it again. The knowledge is there. I read this book by Andrew Loomis. It was super helpful. So if you can get your hands on one of those, definitely give it a go. You can also study from life, go to classes, or the easiest alternative is probably YouTube. There's a lot of different videos on YouTube you could choose from. I personally watch Sakra, Ahmed El-Douri, Alfonso Dunn. Procure has a lot of anatomy videos. He's really good. There's a video down here. It says using the Riley head method. So the Riley method breaks the face down into very simple shapes. And it just helps for beginners get a really good understanding of the head and how the head is shaped. So for this, you need to have a basic understanding of the planes of the face, just so that you know where the light is going to hit and where the shadows will be, where the reflective light will be. Once you've got that, then you're good to go, and you can draw portraits in any lighting that you like. So, next step for this will be getting reference. So I use Pinterest a lot, actually, all the time. For all my reference, I have different boards for different things. So you can see here on my page, I've got male faces, female faces. I've also got like costumes, fabrics, hairstyles, all kinds of different things you can go with. And yeah, I would recommend creating your own page, and you can have as many boards as you want. You can have as many pictures in it as you want. With a thing like faces here, we've got all kinds of different ethnicities, different facial features, different ages, and that's what you want. You want a variety, you want different angles of the face as well. So I use a lot of models and famous people because it's simply just easier to find multiple pictures of them from different angles. I'll post a link to my Pinterest page in the description to give you a head start if you would like to take a look at some of that stuff. Alright, so for the character I'm picking a character that is dead at the beginning of the Song of Ice and Fire series, or Game of Thrones, Rhaegar Targaryen. So he is described as a handsome and lean young man. He has purple eyes, silver hair, with a long face and sharp features. His demeanor is mysterious and melancholic, so it's quoted, "It simply was not in his nature to be happy. Sadness hung over him like a shadow." So I found this guy really interesting, and I want to do a full illustration on him eventually. So I've created a board on Pinterest for this project, and it's just full of a bunch of basically handsome men. Now I'm focusing on very specific features for these men. So it could be eyebrows, the chin, the nose, the eyes, even just the pose and the shape of the face. So this is the trick to creating your character. Once you've got this, we're going to get started. So with my HB pencil, I'm going to block out the shapes of the head. I'm using a grey tone paper because it's a lot of fun for portraits when you add the shadows and the highlights, and then it all comes together really nicely in the end. I've got Orlando Bloom up as a reference, so I'm doing his nose for this particular drawing. I also use his eyes a little bit later on. This guy I'm using for the eyebrows. And then I've got another guy for the actual shape of the head, and another guy for the pose that the head is facing. Looking at the chin and the lips, and there is a pencil drawing there of Rhaegar Targaryen done by another artist that I just think was really well done. So you'll see the same few images pop up. These are all my reference images that I am looking at the time of drawing this. And I just keep going back and forth between them just to keep that aesthetic that I have in mind going. So looking at the jawline, I also block out where the shadow is going to begin on the cheeks and forehead. And then we go in with the 8B pencil. So this is really blocking in the details now, blocking in the shadows. I go back to the eyes and the nose of Orlando Bloom, and then back to the other models for their chin and their lips. And then the eyebrows again. And so I'm just going over everything now, just a bit darker, blocking out where the shadows are going to go. I have in mind at this point where my lighting is coming from. So it's good to keep that in mind, and you leave that part blank. So when you add the highlights in later, it's really easy and will go smoothly onto the page with no troubles. I'm using this guy's hair. I believe his hair is described a little bit shorter in the books, but I just imagined him as a knight with really luscious long hair, so that's what I'm going with for my character. So I'm using this photo for the shadows. Now it's not the exact same lighting, but it is an easy way to look at where the shadows for, say, the jawline and the cheeks will go. And then when I zoom in with my mechanical pencil, this is really zooming in on the details, darkening inside the nostrils, getting like the wrinkles and creases around the eyes, and just really darkening the bits and pieces that have barely any light hitting them. You'll see me use a makeup brush every now and then, so I'm using that to just push the graphite. It lifts a little bit of it up so it is less intense, and it also smooths the surface so it comes up a bit less scratchy looking and a bit more of like a smoother texture. So the point of this technique is you're basically creating like a Frankenstein hybrid face from all the different features that you've chosen. And hopefully in the end it will look like a real person and it will have the aesthetic of the character that you were going for. When you're drawing hair, I recommend not drawing individual strands, but just blocking out these these very twisted shapes. So it is going to twist and it's going to fall and fold on itself because that's how hair works. And then you add shadows to the darker side, and you also add shadows to bits of hair that have folded over other bits of hair. And then you blend it all out because there's not a whole lot of mass with hair. It's very soft, kind of like smoke almost, a little bit denser than that. Cool, so blending all of the graphite together just to create a slightly smoother texture. And then I'll come in with my white charcoal pencil. So this is gonna really bring the depth out of the face, and it's kind of starting to get to the finishing touches to make him look like a real human being. This is just a normal white charcoal pencil, nothing special about it. I believe it was a cheap one from eBay. So as I said, I've already had in mind where the highlights are going to go. I haven't drawn over with dark graphite where I want the white charcoal pencil to go, because you do find it's a little bit hard to mix them together. You won't get the intense vibrancy either, really. When drawing a portrait, I would recommend, just as a little tip, colour in the background. Now you don't have to necessarily have a shape or like a picture in the background, but if you just colour it either lighter or darker than the actual head, it just adds that extra bit of depth. It makes you feel like he's standing somewhere and he's not just on a piece of paper. So now it's just refining the details. I still look at the reference, but I basically know where I'm going from here. Very light highlights, very dark shadows and hairs. If you're using white paper, instead of the white pencil, you could simply just use an eraser and erase the highlights. Cool. So when you feel that you're ready, and you can render this as much as you want, add as many layers as you need. I kept this one pretty sketchy because I will probably change a few things before I make it into a full painting. But I'm pretty happy with the aesthetic, and I think this is enough of a real looking man that I can work with for a painting. Cool. Awesome, and I believe this picture is done. So if you happen to use this technique, definitely look me up on Instagram. I'll post some links below, and tag me in your pictures. I would love to see you post them. Thank you for joining me, and yeah, I'll see you next time.